In this video, I'm going to discuss 6 hidden secret features on the LiveWire Del Mar and 7 hidden Easter eggs on the Del Mar. Now, LiveWire in the past has taken a stance of not describing or even talking about many of the features the bike has. An example of that would be the LiveWire 1, where there are dozens of features and things that the bikes do which are not talked about from a marketing standpoint. So they're probably not going to talk about these 6 features either, but I wanted everybody to be aware that I believe they're there and to look for them and talk about the differences that these features and Easter eggs make. Now, I'm a little radioactive over at LiveWire right now because of some of the things I've said in past videos, but I want to say that I have no inside information about LiveWire products or the LiveWire management team. The hidden features and Easter eggs presented in this video are the result of my own research of publicly available documents, podcasts, videos, and interviews. I'm going to be showing those documents, interviews, podcasts, videos, etc. in this presentation, and I don't have any secrets. I don't have any inside information. I'm just calling out what's on the bike, and I'm calling out what the features are and talking about the difference that it makes to us as riders. So let's start with the 6 hidden features. Here they are. There's a lot more than 6, but these are the 6 that I have time for tonight to get done. Number 1, the LiveWire Del Mar has virtual throttle control with feedback. They have a patent pending on that. We're going to review the patent. We're going to talk about how it works, and we're going to show why that is the heart of the LiveWire experience when you ride a LiveWire motorcycle. Number 2, I believe the motorcycle has the Bosch motorcycle stability control, which is the 6-axis IMU, which is basically a computerized stability management. Manages the brakes, the acceleration, make sure the bike doesn't fall down. I believe the bike has that. We're going to talk about why. The third thing, LiveWire has patents on what they call swing arm concentric motor drive. We're going to reveal those patents. We're going to point it out on the bike, and we're going to talk about what it does for the rider. Number 4, low mass, high torque drivetrain. I've been able to run some experiments on the LiveWire 1 and the LiveWire Del Mar to demonstrate that the Del Mar has a considerably lighter drivetrain than the LiveWire 1. We'll get into that later. Last 2, number 5, remote diagnostics over cellular. The LiveWire Del Mar is the first motorcycle that can be diagnosed remotely, meaning that when you ride the bike, if anything goes wrong with it, with electronics or anything at all, the LiveWire is going to be able to diagnose that in real time over a cellular network. And number 6, LiveWire Del Mar is the first motorcycle ever to have over-the-air updates over cellular. So it's going to be exactly like the Tesla. You have a choice to download the latest updates, which might fix charger incompatibilities, might update the stability control, might give you new features on how you control your iPhone, whatever. It's going to have over-the-air updates, which can be done just like Tesla, like thousands and thousands of bikes overnight, no problem. So anyway, those are the 6 hidden secret features. I did a presentation, or I did the first part of this video over at the Malibu Experience Center for LiveWire. And I'm going to be going back and forth between these slides explaining the features and what I showed at the Malibu Experience Center. Okay, it's October 16th, 2022. I'm at the Malibu Experience Center, the LiveWire Malibu Experience Center, and this video is about 6 secret features and 7 secret Easter eggs that are on this bike. So let's start out with the secret features. First of all, let's start with the throttle. I found a patent on the internet from Harley-Davidson about how this throttle works. And a regular throttle, when you turn the throttle on an electric motorcycle, it increases the voltage. So as you turn, you get more and more voltage, the bike takes off faster. what Harley has done is they have a special mapping feature where when you turn this, they feed and throttle to the motor. But what they do is there's a feedback loop depending on how fast the motor is picking up or slowing down that they use to adjust the voltage. So they map it to feel like a gas bike. And I'm going to show the patent on the screen, but it's a patented throttle mapping. And also the engineer in charge of the Del Mar project kind of leaked it out at the bike rollout when he talked about the special throttle mapping to make it feel like a LiveWire. So the reason the LiveWire bikes feel different on the throttle response is they've got a feedback loop where they're controlling how the engine responds. They're not just increasing the voltage. So that's number one. Virtual throttle control with feedback. This is a patent that was filed by Harley-Davidson on January 6, 2019. The patent is still pending, as best I can tell. It has not been granted. What the patent is called, and you can search for it on Google Patents if you'd like to read the whole thing, it's called Motorcycle with Virtual Braking and Virtual Clutch. Now, I kind of got the idea what virtual braking was. I mean, I kind of have an idea what that is with a regen, but the virtual clutch really threw me for a loop. So these are a couple of diagrams from the patent. The one on the right is obviously a LiveWire Del Mar. I mean, just look at it. Obviously, that's a Del Mar that was published in 2019. And on the left-hand side is one of the many diagrams of the patent showing how this thing works. So we're going to blow up the diagram on the left a little bit bigger, and here it is. Now, the virtual throttle control with feedback is a title that I came up with. They're talking about something else. They're talking about motorcycle with virtual braking and virtual clutch. I'm renaming that virtual throttle control with feedback. And the reason I am, if you look at the left-hand box, that big box, that's simply the memory, the processor, and an I/O device to talk to the processor. The next line over, where you have the 4 boxes in a row, the twist grip sensor, the regenerative braking control, the motor controller, and motor sensors, that's 607. Those are all tied together with the electric motor. Now, most speed controllers or motor controllers out there, when you turn the twist grip, they apply more voltage. What this thing's doing, you see in the bottom there, it's got in box 607 motor sensors and regenerative braking control sensors. So what's happening is when you turn that twist grip, what it's doing is finding out what the motor is doing and adjusting for what the motor's doing relative to how much the twist grip was turned. So depending on the weight or what angle the bike's at or whatever, as you're twisting that thing, it's feeding back. Now, the thing that's critical to understand here, and you only realize this if you've ridden a lot of other motorcycles, is the throttle on the LiveWire is much different. And what the difference is when you're riding it is when you turn that throttle, it seems like the bike is exactly where you turn the throttle. So no matter what speed, what terrain, what's going on, uphill, downhill, when you turn that throttle, there's a direct connection between the throttle and what the motorcycle's doing. And they didn't get that direct connection just by turning up and down voltages and doing regen. They got it by putting in some maps that they can tell how the motor's responding to the amount of throttle the rider's putting in there. I mean, it's probably not just the position of the throttle, but the rate of change. I mean, they have this thing dialed in and mapped out so that when you're riding the bike, it feels like your right-hand wrist or throttle is directly controlled to the motorcycle like instantly. And that's how they're doing it. And I believe that this methodology of feeding back the electric motor response to the throttle input, I mean, that's what makes the thing feel exactly right. And that's what's going to be very hard for other companies to duplicate, because obviously these mappings have been done over a long period of time very carefully. I'm sure they spent thousands and thousands of hours doing this to get it exactly right in the different ride modes, but this is what makes the LiveWire LiveWire. Now I'm going to show you an interview that I did with the engineering guy, or I guess the guy in charge, the engineer in charge of the Del Mar project. And this is a video that I did of him the day that the LiveWire was introduced. He was in Los Angeles as part of a rollout, and I did an interview talking to him, and I asked him specifically about what the bike felt like to ride, and watch when he starts talking about how it feels like a LiveWire and the throttle mapping.
Now, did you ride the bike in the dirt at all, or strictly on pavement?
We have our own test track, eval track at the PDC in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So that's where we do a lot of the testing, engineering, and design work for the products, the LiveWire. So
now, the LiveWire 1 has a different kind of feel when you ride the bike in terms of the speed control and the throttle.
For sure,
it's
yeah.
feels like much more hooked up than some of the other electric bikes.
Yeah.
Do you have a proprietary system that you're using to do that, or is that like a Chinese OEM, or are you developing your own speed control?
Really unique thing about LiveWire is all this, what you see here, and what you're actually going to feel when you're riding the motorcycle is all in-house developed by LiveWire. So, yeah, you're going to have that similar feel to LiveWire, but obviously this is a different package, different architecture. So
now, does it have a LiveWire specific traction control, or is that?
Yeah, so a lot of the settings are going to be, they're all dialed in based on our ride and handling specs that we've outlined for this motorcycle.
Okay. Or is that?
Yeah, so a lot of the settings are going to be, they're all dialed in based on our ride and handling specs that we've outlined for this motorcycle.
Okay. Or is that?
Yeah, so a lot of the settings are going to be, they're all dialed in based on our ride and handling specs that we've outlined for this motorcycle.
Okay.
Number 2. I've talked about this in other videos. They've got a Brembo master cylinder here, but if you follow it and trace it through the bike, it goes under the tank to the back of the bike, and then the brake comes back in a steel line, and then steel braided cables to the front caliper. So what's happening, I believe we have computerized brakes. So I think it's the 6-axis IMU from Bosch, the motorcycle stability control, I think they call it. And I think this bike has got it. The LiveWire 1 has got it. I think this bike has got it too. Okay, the bike in the back has a 6-axis IMU. It's a BMW S1000RR. He's going to go by this bike. He's going to be coming too fast into a turn and lose control. So there's the right turn. He's going too fast. The bike jumps around. The IMU saves him by modulating the brakes and taking care of everything. Now the bike in the back does not have an IMU, and there it is. He puts on the brakes in the turn. The bike high sides him, throws him in front of a car. So let's see that again in slow motion. This is what would happen to the LiveWire if it did not have a 6-axis IMU. He's in the corner, puts on the brakes. Look at that. The bike jumps around, throws the rider over the top, down on the ground. Now there's a current LiveWire owner in Malibu who did this on his Ducati before he bought his LiveWire, and this is easy to do. If you're in a corner on a regular motorcycle and you hit the brakes too hard, the bike either throws you over the top or low sides. The next secret feature is the Concentric swing arm. Now I talked about this a little bit in another video. I'll show the patent on the screen, but this swing arm, I believe, can't prove, is rotating on the same shaft as the motor. Now if you look a little bit closer at their display unit, you can get a better idea for it, but I believe that the swing arm pivot is directly on the shaft of the motor, making the swing arm and the motor one piece. This is something I found on the internet under Google Patents. If you Google swing arm concentric motor drive, you get this. Now, this is a patent filed by Harley-Davidson and the engineers at Harley-Davidson that are in the LiveWire group. Okay, now that picture on the left looks to me like a Del Mar. Okay, this patent and this picture was filed in 2019. So when they introduced the LiveWire 1, this was already on the board. I mean, they're filing the patents for it. That, to me, looks like a Del Mar. Now, the picture on the left is the motorcycle, and what the concentric motor drive is, and you have to think about this. I had to look at the picture for a while and read the patent. But what they've done is the swing arm is part of the motor. I don't mean attached to the motor. I mean the axle of the motor is the actual physical pivot point for the swing arm. The swing arm is attached and swings back and forth to the axle on the motor. Okay, so the motor and the swing arm, it's the same thing. Now, what that does besides efficiency, you basically get the efficiency of like a hub motor with none of the unsprung weight. So I mean, what they've done is they've pulled the motor away and the swing arm away in one piece, in one unit, to get a smaller parts count, lighter. It's obviously going to have the same belt tension, and it's going to have very exact geometry on the swing arm because it's attached. I mean, when I say attached, the axle on the motor goes through the swing arm and is the pivot point on the swing arm. So it's one piece. Okay, now besides that, that's another patent, is the electric motor is in the same casting as the battery pack. So the swing arm, the motor, the battery pack, it's all one unit. It's one thing. It's not separate parts, okay? Now, I'm not sure what all the benefits are, but it's got to be a lower mass or well, I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not a physics guy or an engineering guy, but when I look at something like this, I understand that this is much different than anything else on the street right now on a motorcycle. Okay, so now that's 3 features. Now let's go to 4. If I get down next to the bike and I grab onto the spokes and I turn it back and forth, I get a feel for how much resistance and weight there is in the drivetrain. Okay, so while I'm doing this, I'm turning the whole drivetrain, the wheel, the motor, everything's turning when I do this. So I get a feel for it. If I come over to a LiveWire 1, this one's up on a stand as well, and I grab onto the spoke and I turn it, it's much heavier, it's like twice as much. So the mass of the drivetrain, or whatever you want to call it, when I'm jerking that back and forth, this is twice as much, which leads me to believe that this drivetrain is probably lighter and maybe has better bearings or more efficient or something, but I haven't figured out a name for it yet. So, reviewing, we've got the throttle, we've got the brakes, we've got the concentric swing arm, we've got the light drivetrain. Now, at the shareholders meeting a few months ago, I'll bring it up on the screen, Vance Strader was asked a question about the Del Mar, and he rattled off 2 secret features. Number 1 is the bike has remote diagnostics. So in other words, when something goes wrong with the bike, it transmits on the cellular network back to LiveWire to let them know the bike's got a problem, remote diagnostics. The other thing that it's got, the next feature, is over-the-air updates. So this is the first motorcycle ever to have over-the-air updates. So as they come out with new features, new braking systems, new maps, new control systems, they'll be able to update it automatically over the air. Now, I believe, although other companies claim it, I think Tesla is the only electric vehicle company that can do a true over-the-air update. So, over-the-air updates, remote diagnostics, light and drivetrain, concentric swing arm, special throttle mapping, 6-axis IMU. So those are the secret features. Now, I'm just guessing. I have no inside knowledge, but I think those are special features. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at Easter eggs. If I look at the back tail light here very carefully, very closely, you can see it's got a Harley-Davidson logo in the tail light, or on the blinker. It's got one on the blinker here. Now if you notice on the back of the wheel, don't know if I can get close enough to see it, but on the wheel there is a tag with a Harley-Davidson, there it is there, I don't know if you can see it. That's the Harley-Davidson logo stamped on just one of the spokes. So that's an Easter egg. Now, you look up here, it's got straps that strap down the handlebar. If I pull this back, Harley-Davidson logo, okay? Pull back this one, Harley-Davidson logo. Okay, here's the USB-C cover, Harley-Davidson logo. So, little Easter eggs all over the bike from Harley-Davidson. So there you have it. We've got a total of 7 Easter eggs if you count
the Harley logo on the front spoke of the wheel. So we got 7 Easter eggs and 6 secret features, I believe. We'll find out over time, but I'm telling you, I am convinced that this bike is loaded with all kinds of real technology, or really new technology and innovative technology that we don't totally know about yet. And the people at LiveWire are keeping this information from us, but hopefully over time we'll find out. Have a great day.